This is James Swanwick with Alcohol-Free Lifestyle, and today I'm handing the reins over to my Project 90 top coach, Victoria English, who is a wonderful woman from Denver, Colorado, who has been coaching all of our Project 90 clients to get long-term power over alcohol. I asked Victoria to step in and interview one of our graduating clients, a lovely woman by the name of Michele, and I think that's it. I should just hand over to Victoria from here. Nice to have someone different than me. You probably, maybe you like the soothing tones of my voice, but we can spice it up a little bit and have Victoria step in and host the podcast today. Just a reminder, there are details in the show notes of this episode where you can get my guide that will give you long-term, or at least it'll walk you through the process that I give to my clients on how to get long-term power over alcohol. So if you'd like to reduce alcohol, you want to quit, if you want to reduce, do moderation, maybe you want to quit entirely, the same process and system that I walk my Project 90 clients through, I outline in that guide. The link is alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. It's in the show notes. Likewise, if you feel ready to quit alcohol for at least 90 days and you want some additional help. Now, just to be clear, 95% of my teachings and coachings you can find on the internet for free. Just Google James Swanwick. You can listen to this podcast. 5% of what I put out there are paid programs, and it's for people who want some additional support or they want help executing the process that I hand out for free. So if you want some accountability, if you realize that you can't do it by yourself or you don't want to do it by yourself, you're welcome to schedule a complimentary coaching call with one of my coaches. It could be Victoria. It might be one of my other coaches, Jim or Alfie. And we'll listen to you, hear you out, and see if we can help. And maybe you'll end up working with us and we'll support you and you'll become a Project 90 client. And if not, worst case scenario, you'll leave with a plan to go and do it on your own. It is for over 35s. The most of our clients are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Very, very rarely do I take someone in their 20s. The impact, what I found is that folks in their 20s don't really want to quit drinking as much as folks in their mid 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, because, people realize they're getting a little bit older, the drinking's slowing them down, they want to live their best life, they want to take it seriously, they want to invest in themselves. Whereas, let's face it, when you're in your 20s, you just want to go out and get drunk and have fun and do crazy stuff, right? Most of the time. Anyway, if you want to schedule one of those calls, then the link is in the description as well. It's alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. Or if you want to text me, you can text me at the number 44222. Just text the word Project 90 and I'll text you back a schedule link where you can book that complimentary call. Enough from me. Let's hand over to Victoria English, who is the Project 90 top coach. And she is interviewing today Michele Bunion, who is a Project 90 graduating client. Over to you, Victoria.
Hi, everyone. This is Victoria English with Project 90. I have taken over James's podcast today. I have a very special guest, a member of Project 90 who is very close to my heart. Michele and I have spent hours and hours chatting and growing together, and she has agreed to share her story. Michele is from Sewell, New Jersey. She is 66 years old. Several years ago, she had gastric bypass surgery and found that she was getting drunk after only 2 glasses of wine. Michele made it for 28 days when she did the 30-day alcohol-free program. She then decided to try our 90-day program after having limited success with AA and rehabilitation programs. Michele enjoys travel, her family, and her career. Michele credits her faith with helping her achieve 93 days of continuous alcohol-free living. Michele, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's an honor for us. And I've said to Michele many, many times that her story is especially inspiring. As I said, we've spent a lot of time on group meetings, and Michele is a wealth of knowledge. She has helped so many of our other members As they have had challenges, she also is the first to celebrate their victories. One thing that inspires me about Michele, especially, is her tenacity. When we're struggling with an alcohol problem, there are definitely those dark moments where we can feel defeated and hopeless. And Michele, being in her 60s, has that tenacity and faith to never, ever give up. It isn't easy to go into a program and, quote, fail. We don't call it failure, but it certainly can feel that way. Michele never, ever gave up, and I have such admiration for her. And I know that she is going to inspire you, our listeners, today. And I also think that she will continue to share her story and inspire others. Michele, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So why don't you just start from the beginning of when you started drinking? What was that like?
I started drinking. Of course, you mentioned I had gastric bypass surgery. So I guess the food was not doing it for me anymore. So I went to alcohol, and I found that in one or two glasses that I would start to be inebriated. And I the drinking continued, where the one went to two, went to three, then went to bottles. I was drinking, I started with the small bottles of wine, then the bigger bottles of wine. And I am grateful that nothing happened to me or anyone else during the course of this. I was admitted to the hospital, not admitted, but I went to the hospital ER after drinking and not being able to walk. And so they called the ambulance, where they probably would have put me in jail, but they took me to the hospital and, had me just stay there, I guess, until I felt better and I dried out. And but that wasn't the end all. There were times that I did things that I couldn't remember. I blacked out. I did not want to live anymore. I was so ashamed of myself. And I tried, rehab after work. It wasn't an inpatient, but it was rehab after work. I went to AA. I never felt good enough. I didn't feel like, yes, hi, I'm Michele, I'm an alcoholic. It just didn't fit me. But I did say it when I was there. And I tried to do the 90-day, with AA, where you go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And it just was a vicious cycle, a merry-go-round that I couldn't get off. And I think that's where I felt, that if I could just end my life, then it led to separation, my divorce. And, I just figured, what good am I? I have no good in this life. I can't give to anybody because, I have this habit of drinking, and it brought so much shame to me as a person. I hid it from my husband for about 7 months. He didn't even know I drank. I used to drink when he went to work. I hid it from my family, but it was horrible. It was terrible. So that's where it brought me to 90 days, the Project 90.
There's so much in that story, just those 2 minutes of sharing. So what I heard you saying is that it sounds like perhaps the first problem was food, misusing food.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Was that something that you struggled with for many years?
Oh, yes. It's been a lifetime. I still now do struggle with food. I am learning a lot through the Project 90 and taking one thing at a time, and the neural pathways and how to create. Again, I was addicted to diet programs since I was about 12. And but now I realize, okay, I will forgive myself and have mercy and grace, and say, okay, well, I'll just give this one thing up right now and replace it with something healthy. So it's like putting off and putting on, and rather than I can't have that. I can't do this. I can't eat this. If I want the little chocolate bar, I will have the chocolate bar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just replacing it. And I did learn a lot of good wisdom through the Project 90 and people who shared.
Mm-hmm. It's so common for people to replace one maladaptive coping skill with another maladaptive coping skill.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think it's important for people to hear your story and understand how easily we can shift from something like a food addiction to an alcohol dependence or addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's so much shame tied to all of it
Yes.
that it keeps us in secrecy. And I think that there is a special type of shame for women and mothers when we are coping in these unhealthy ways. Certainly food is one thing that, if people are heavy or something like that, there's definitely a stigma attached to that.
Yes.
But the stigma of alcohol is especially shameful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because here, alcohol is a highly addictive substance. You've learned that now through Project 90. The first thing we do is we examine, what is alcohol? What is it? What does it do to our body and our brain? And yet, in society, we're expected to use it. Marketers just saturate us with messages that, oh, you can't get through life. You can't get through motherhood. You can't get through family strife without a drink.
Mm.
But then if we develop the natural thing of a habit, a dependence, an addiction, then it's all switched around. Well, what's wrong with you?
Yes.
Was that your experience?
Yes. I, like I said about my faith, I would, beg, like, okay, God, what is wrong with me? Why am I so different? Why can't I give up, or why can't I live like a normal person? Why am I made the way I am? And I couldn't understand it, and I couldn't relate to those around me, or even share with them how I felt. So it was so lonely, and it was a lost feeling that not until I really got into Project 90. And I remember my first post, I introduced myself. It was probably about 20 seconds long. And people accepted me and they welcomed me. And that blew me away. It's like, wow, people from all walks of life, all over the United States, men, women, all different ages, we all have something in common, and we accept one another, and we literally love each other. I mean, even though love takes all many forms, but we love each other through this, and we accept one another. And even when we do have a slip, which I did have a slip through my 90 days, it's nothing that we need, or I needed to be ashamed of. I did go through some shame, but as soon as I came back to Project 90 and admitted my slip, I was accepted, and people gave me words of encouragement. My coach gave me words of encouragement. And, it's just such a positive way of getting through such a shameful experience.
Right. Alcohol, well, Project 90 is exactly what alcohol does not want us to have. Alcohol wants us to need it, to want it. It definitely wants to drive us into isolation. You and I were just speaking before the call that, going into social situations isn't where we would do our heavy drinking.
Yes.
It was when we were alone, and alone with our feelings, alone with uncomfortable feelings. I don't even call them bad feelings. They're just feelings. And I think that's one thing we've definitely learned in Project 90 is how to just observe our feelings and not put a judgment or a label on them. But, I like to kind of personify alcohol sometimes and think about it going, oh no, oh no, she's in a community. Oh crap, she's talking about it. Oh no, people are accepting her. Oh no, she's seeing me for what I am, which is an awful addictive toxin that of course she's going to become dependent upon. And James has put so much thought and care into structuring the program that way because we understand where alcohol wants us to be. It wants us alone. It wants us breaking promises to ourselves and our loved ones yet again. It wants people to not believe our words. It wants us to have that cognitive dissonance and that incongruency in the way we live our lives. Because like you, I showed up as one person to the world. But there was something inside of me that drove me to be alone and to drink until I couldn't feel those things that I didn't know how to tolerate. Talk a little bit about, there's so many things to talk about. Talk a little bit about your experience in Project 90 when you had that, what we call a reset. Just again, for our listeners, we don't use words like relapse. We don't use words like alcoholic. We don't use words like recovery or sobriety. And we have total respect for anyone who does. Our mission in Project 90 is to provide an empowering, positive path to experiencing alcohol-free life. And we talk a lot, Michele, about, that cone that I show about expansive thinking and contractive thinking. And we are about expanding, using words that lift us up and lift up others. And we do have accountability. We do ask that our members be transparent and vulnerable and raw. And sometimes that's not easy. So, Michele, you certainly experienced that when you had that small reset. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened and what it was like when you shared and what you learned from it?
I was traveling. I wasn't sleeping. I was out of my routine, my ordinary everyday. I used to hide what I felt from my significant other, and I tried to deal with his issues and my issues. And I just said, I'm going to have that drink, and I want that drink, and I'm going to have it. I tossed and turned all night, and I just got up and I decided to have this little bottle of wine that they usually give you on the airplanes. And it probably was like a glass and a half of wine. So I had that. I put it away, I threw the bottle out. I did confess it to, or admit it to my son, whose house I was over, that I took that bottle of wine, and he was a little concerned. A few days later, I did admit it to my husband, but I didn't even regret it. I didn't have any remorse. I said, I don't care. I'm having that drink. And then it hit the next morning that, oh, what did I do? I had 55 days of alcohol-free living, and I took this drink. Now I got to start from day one. So I immediately, at that time, it was Kevin. I texted him. It was Easter Sunday, and he got back to me. And the main thing I remember from that conversation was integrity. It was integrity of my word and what I had said I was going to do. So I said, I was going to be alcohol-free for 90 days. After 90 days, that was another decision I would have to make, whether to take a drink, resume drinking, or still continue the alcohol-free living. And, it wasn't too bad. I admitted it. I had to start day one. I didn't want to do that, but I did learn from it. And I think in learning from it, I was able to help others who had also had to reset. And I really give kudos to those who didn't have to reset, but I did learn a lot. It was one time, and you never know when that can happen again. So I have to always be aware of that it's right there in front of me. I can, I could have that drink. I could go to the liquor store and buy alcohol. So, but I decided, no, this is the way I want to live. Quote, like you said, I'm in my 60s. I don't want to have to go the rest of my life and say, oh, alcohol. Oh, it's a shame. Alcohol killed her. I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be more than that in the rest of my life, and to help others in some respect, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing that Michele and I have spoken about is her level of integrity. And again, it goes back to alcohol can rob us of that, rob us of living in alignment with our core values. And certainly from what I know of Michele, she has a lot of integrity. And the foundation of that is her faith, the love that she has for her family, the intention she has to live a healthy life, understanding that alcohol is detrimental on many levels to our health. But isn't it interesting that she had that small bottle? I know exactly what you mean. I used to hide them in my purse. Yes, I did. Especially the plastic ones, because they wouldn't clap around. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. That's quite a piece of work myself. But, it would have, first of all, no one would have known.
No.
She didn't get drunk. She didn't black out. She didn't, it wasn't evident to her family. No one saw her intoxicated. She didn't suffer a hangover, but she followed through because she had, by that point at 55 days,
mm-hmm.
had returned to her core values and was living in alignment with them. And I would imagine, Michele, that just felt really unnatural again and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. I could have given up easily and just walked away and just, but did I want to go back to what I was, or how my life was at that point, and jeopardize, my family? And I do have 6 grandchildren, and, having fun with them and taking care of them. And, I just didn't want to go back there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because sometimes people will have that reset, and they will, in other programs, or if they're doing this on their own, they'll say, well, I failed again.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. And they'll just go off and resume their drinking habits.
Mm-hmm.
Which, as you know, after usually a short amount of time, the drinking habits come back just as strong as before.
Yeah.
And oftentimes worse,
mm-hmm.
partly because of the physical addictive nature of the substance, and then the emotional part, that
mm-hmm.
deep shame. So what was it about our community, about our coaches, our program, that gave you the strength to say, you know what, I'm not going back there. I know what that leads to. I'm going to be authentic and vulnerable and raw and talk about this.
As I'm going back, and there's so much to the program that I'm probably not even remembering since I started, and then had to reset. But when I initially started, we were asked to do our why. Why do we want this alcohol-free living? And occasionally I would go back and look at that. I did try to watch. James has a short video for every day of the 90-day program. I did try to watch that. And also, he had mentioned the flowers. I was a little failure on that, but I did buy flowers for my graduation, per se. But the gratitude journal was really helpful for me. And I did buy James a book, which I did this morning. And I think it's a mind shift and it's positive. It's not, and I always used to say, I'm not going to eat that, or I'm not going to drink that, or I'm not, and it was always that negative word in there. So now I say, I choose to drink healthy drinks, or I choose to eat healthy foods.
Yes.
So I think the journal, the gratitude journal, and there's a lot of times I repeated what I was grateful for, or something new happened, or a new revelation. Like, we're never too old to have a revelation, and it's like mind-boggling. And also, to me, the Marco Polos, the one on trying to post nearly every day. There were days that I didn't, and also posting in the Facebook Project 90 Facebook group, I thought was really helpful. So it's a program that envelops. It's a holistic program that envelops everything that you are and the why, and knowing that alcohol is an attractively packaged poison, and it does burn your esophagus, your stomach. It causes, breast cancer and so many ill effects that, who needs it?
Right. Exactly. If I had the marketing budget that these wine companies have, my message would be out there. But we're getting it out there, one podcast, one post at a time. What I hear you saying is Project 90 in our community delivers what alcohol promises and fails to deliver. Because what does alcohol say it's going to do?
It's going to make me feel better. I'm just going to feel better. I'm going to forget about how my feelings. I'm going to numb out. The Project 90 really makes I realize, and after all these years, to feel my feelings, like you said, they're feelings. It doesn't mean that I have to act on them. Doesn't mean I have to react to them. They're just feelings. And sometimes it's good to ponder and to journal. And I'm a big advocate of journaling also. That journaling and just start to write your feelings, and just, whatever comes out, comes out. And I think that's very like you could see, like, okay, these are my feelings. I could see them on paper now, and I could address, like, okay, why am I feeling that way? What has happened, as you said, what has happened? What has brought me to this point where I'm feeling like this? And even though I don't like those feelings, the best thing would be to numb out, but I do let them sit. I sit with them. I ponder, I pray, I read positive things. And I think that I'm hoping I'm answering your question, and I'm not just going on and on, but I feel like, it has made just such a turnaround for me in dealing with life and feelings.
Right. Yeah. Alcohol tells us, this is uncomfortable, so let me take it away from you. Sometimes it promises that it will help us feel more connected to people. It promises that we'll find some answers to our problems. And yet you wake up the next morning, first of all, you physically feel terrible. None of your problems have been solved. In fact, what happens?
They're worse.
They're worse. And you may have created even more. And the connection that we seek is much more difficult in our personal lives when there's alcohol in the picture. People see us as two different entities. And that's confusing and difficult for the people who love us.
Yeah.
And there's something about, Project 90, we are all it's funny, isn't it? As you get on these calls and you learn more about people, we have so much more in common than this alcohol thing. And I think that's really exciting, because we can come out with things that are going on in our lives, and someone will say, oh, I have a resource for that. Oh yeah, I can tell you something about that. And so it's so much more than that. But in those challenging moments where we're thinking, I'm really feeling like having a drink, you can go there and share it.
Yes.
Safe.
Definitely.
Yeah. What have you learned about, We could go on for hours. What have you learned about self-talk? Because one thing about Michele, I'll share with you all, is that, like I said, she is so supportive of other members. She is the first to welcome somebody who's new. She's the first to reach out if someone hasn't shown up in a while, or we know that maybe they're going through a challenging situation in life. And then she's also there to celebrate and, have the confetti ready for people when they have a victory. And that's a wonderful quality. But earlier in the interview, I heard you talking about how you would speak to yourself in the past when you were caught on that merry-go-round, as you called it.
Mm.
How has that changed for you?
I really feel with self-talk, you have to love yourself where you're at. And will I make mistakes? Yes, I will make mistakes. We're human. I'm human. But I've learned to forgive myself and to love myself and to just go from where I'm at and that little slip, error, mistake, anywhere in life, and say, okay, all right, what did I learn from that? What is the positive things I could bring, not only to myself, but to others, to my family, to the environment. It's just so much. It's so different now. It's like it's a complete mindset turnaround, 360 degree turnaround. And I never thought I would, and you would think like as you said, I'm a little older, so I'm more set in my ways, but it happens. And I am so grateful for that. I mean, that is one of the things I am so grateful. And I am so grateful for my coaches and the people that are part of the program, James for creating the program. It is just so totally awesome, more than I expected. Of course, they're, like they say, put some skin in the game, which I have, and it's an investment. But I didn't think twice of it. I mean, I had the resources, thankfully. I didn't have to go to anybody. I had the resources. I was able to, because I was determined, I don't want to live like this anymore. I tried other things. I tried free things or books and tapes, and nothing was helping. And, I'm really grateful for the program, really.
Well, we're grateful for you too. You're talking about how the mindset shift has applied to so many areas of your life. And I do find, and I certainly found this myself on my own journey, which I'm still on a journey. We all are. But it's about so much more than alcohol. What we do in this program is about so much more than alcohol. And it does it translates into all areas of your life.
I have to share also, and I shared with you the other day, was that this is the first time in 25 years that I do not take antidepressants. And that's both Project 90 and my faith. And, that came into play too. And also, all of my adult life, I went to therapy. I could never figure out who I was or where I was supposed to be. This is like that combined in it too, maybe not per se psychiatry or psychology, but it's just so helpful. It's all in our minds at first. And then if we could reset that, it could kind of set our lives on a pathway of health and vibrance and just total happiness and joy. And of course, there's going to be disappointments. I don't want to say that it's totally work.
Yeah. When members come in and we help them understand, like I said, alcohol is a substance. You can't argue with that. It's just science. People can have all sorts of different opinions about alcohol and moderation and what is an alcoholic and that's fine. You can't argue with the science. And that was what changed it for me. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing that with our members, to say, look, this is alcohol. This is what it does to your brain. This is what it does to your dopamine and serotonin. This is why you crash afterwards. And that's why your brain is like this, trying to find homeostasis, that level, normal rate. It can't do that when we are continuously drinking. So I love what you said, because again, certainly work with your doctor, but once you can return to your set point, it's a game changer.
Definitely.
And also, I would imagine as you go through this program and you gain more confidence and you gain more clarity because the alcohol's out of your system. You know, we teach our members about, look, those first, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, you will have physical cravings. After that, it's more about, handling your emotions, navigating some social things without alcohol, but it's clearing out of your system. And you're not waking up with a dumpster fire that you created the night before, which certainly can lend itself to mood instability.
Yes.
You're taking away a lot of those things that could cause us to feel anxious and depressed.
Yes. And definitely I did talk to my doctor before I went off of the antidepressants, because anyone listening, I don't want you to think, if you do take antidepressants, talk to your doctor. I'm not a doctor.
Don't go throwing them in the toilet.
yes. No, it's not, always be under a doctor's care.
Doctor's care.
Yeah.
Yes. But it is interesting how suddenly the number of problems in your life just kind of start to dissipate. And with that clarity and an alcohol-free mind, the problems that are there, have you found they're a lot easier to navigate?
Oh, definitely. I finally have found who I am and stopped fitting into everyone else's mold of who they think I should be. And it took me a little longer than most, but and I accept myself, as I am, where I am, and I accept others as they are and where they are. I don't try to change them, and I realize when somebody's trying to change me. I go, oh, okay, that's what you think, but that's not who I am.
Well, have you found that your ability to be comfortable in your skin and sort of state your opinions and hold your boundaries has gotten easier now that you're alcohol free?
Yes, definitely. I could, there are certain people who have, stronger personalities that I would not speak how I felt or, say what I was feeling. But now I'm able to do so because I'm worth it. I have something to say, and I say it with truth and love and not with condemnation or pointing my finger at the other person. But this is who I am and how I feel. And I think I should be equally respected as I respect others.
And in my experience, when someone is struggling with alcohol misuse, they're not always validated and heard. Their boundaries are not always respected, because it's kind of like, yeah, well, she's saying that, but she's got that drinking problem. So we don't really have to give her words a lot of weight. Did you kind of get that sense that you couldn't be heard because your family knew you had that thing?
Yeah, I have to say it is one particular person. I won't say who it is, just in case he ever listens to, if he listens to the podcast. Yeah, and it's still now that sometimes it's brought up to me that, oh, thank God you're not drinking. Or remember, when you were drinking and you're not thinking clearly because you were drinking. They weren't able to see beyond that. Behind that alcohol or drinking, that habit, but that person or whoever, I'm sure there's more than that, just one person, they're not able to see beyond the habit that you formed, rather than see, why are you struggling? Why, let me help you out. What can I do to help you see, it's just not, like you said, it's just not the alcohol. There's just so much more to it.
Mm-hmm.
And with any substance, it's just not the or behavior,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just not that. It's more to it than that.
Yes. Yeah. I think we can all just stand a little taller and speak our truth more easily and understand that how others react is not our job to worry about
Mm-hmm.
because we're showing up authentically and
Yes.
living in congruence with our values and the way that we want to present ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you said you're a grandmother of 6.
Yes.
If there's someone out there listening and I'm 50, so it's not like I'm a spring chicken. I didn't get it when I was very young either. We're all works in progress.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone is listening and they're thinking, oh, you know, I've been doing this for so long, there's just no way. This is just who I am. I'm never going to be able to shake this. It's got me in its grips. I just need to accept it and live whatever kind of life I can scrape by with. I'm too old, or I'm too set in my ways, or there's just not a chance for me.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to that person?
Well, I could understand. I have felt that way a lot. Like either I'm too old, or I'm set in my ways. But there's much more out. There's always a future. There's always a road ahead of us. You know, like they said, I don't know if it's Project 90, but I've heard like you have a rear view mirror, a small rear view mirror, so you only see part of what's behind you, but you have a whole big window in front of you. So you know, we're still important. We're still a person that can add to others, our own lives, and you know, like having 6 grandchildren, they're like the world to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important to be able for them to see me, and for me to teach them. Like you don't need alcohol to have fun,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't need alcohol to be sociable. You don't need alcohol because it just creates so many other problems. So if they could see that with adults, you know, they know, okay, well, I could get to a level that, you know, I could decide to drink or not to drink. So in other words, what I'm saying is to be an example for your family, your children, for others. There are people who start and I started a new career now after my retirement. So it's never, ever too late. And people who tell you that, it's just a lie. God made you for a reason, and he's going to see that if you feel like you haven't reached that, and we don't reach that destiny until we get there. You know, it's the journey that we're on, and it could be very exciting, no matter what age.
Yeah, you know, you and I were speaking one day, and I said, you know, Michele, you stopped your alcohol habit at 66. And when you look at things, I mean, you know, you think about something that maybe you had dreamed of doing or starting at, let's say 50, my age. If you had started at 50, you'd be 16 years into that hobby.
Mm-hmm.
The life expectancy these days is in the 80s and 90s. I know a lot of people, I see more and more people who are hitting 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's perspective. You doing this at this age, you'll look back and say, whew, look at me. I was so young when I started that. I was so kicking it when you're 85, 86.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, that was 20 years ago. So before we conclude, talk about, you know, how your vision and possibility for the future has expanded versus how you looked at your future when you were drinking.
Well, I see so many possibilities now. You know, even the fact of maybe relocating, living in another state. Also, I always wanted to write a book. I haven't done anything like that yet, but I always wanted to write a book, or I would love to just be able to speak to women, younger women, you know, and because age gives you wisdom, because like I did not go to a college, but I told my granddaughter that I went to the University of Life. And, it just brings, you could learn something in a book, but living life, experiencing it, learning from it, and being able to give the generations below you, that are yet to come. I mean, that's just so much wisdom. And I don't know where that will fall in, with whether it be faith, whether it be missionary work. The possibilities are endless, no matter what age you are. And even if you have aches and pains, you still could go forward.
Right. And so anyone who's listening, if you're on that merry-go-round, ask yourself, what are your future plans? What's open to you? Because if you're like Michele, you're like me, when you're on that merry-go-round, what do you see on a merry-go-round? The same thing over and over and over again. And if you're strapped onto that merry-go-round, you feel like you can't get off it. That ride gets tired really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But then you listen to Michele, and I'm looking at her because we're videoing this, and the way her face lights up when she talks about the future is incredible.
Mm.
That's the gift of leaving the alcohol behind for a while, maybe forever. We do 90 days, and seeing what happens, because when you're on that merry-go-round, you know what it looks like. So if you're listening to Michele's story, I hope that you will ask yourself that possibly difficult question, but realize that taking that one thing, that damn alcohol, away for even a little while, the way it can change your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that I tell myself that really was a game changer for me, and that I share with our members, is that if you have consumed alcohol regularly for a long enough period of time, especially if you're drinking to numb those feelings that are uncomfortable, like Michele shared, and like I did, it's not your fault if you develop a dependence or a really bad habit with this stuff, because that's the nature of it. It's a highly addictive substance. Mm-hmm. However, it is your responsibility to not give up and to do something. And if that's Project 90, that's wonderful. If it's something else, that's also wonderful. But I hope Michele's story will inspire you and help you understand that as long as we have breath in our lungs, we have hope. Well, Michele, you just are amazing. I tell you that regularly.
Thank you, Victoria. So are you. You're amazing. And I love the interview. I love the way you posed the questions to me. So it made it easier for me to answer, because I was a little nervous.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, you are living out your heart of service by doing this. And I am grateful. Project 90 is grateful. James is grateful. And everyone listening is blessed by this. So thank you.
Thank you.
For anyone listening, come on over and check out Project 90. You can tell we're pretty fun. We're friendly. We don't bite. You'll make friends, make some connections. We deliver all the stuff that alcohol promises, but fails to do. So, Michele, thanks again for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Victoria.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I want to load you up with some free stuff. If you look in the show description, there's a link there to get my guide, which is the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide. And in that guide, I will walk you through the process and system for successfully reducing or quitting alcohol. It's the same system and process that I give to my clients inside of Project 90. And if you would like to get your hands on that guide, you can click the link in the description part of this episode, or you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. Likewise, if you would like to be considered for Project 90 to join our community and get some accountability, some coaching, and have fun, achieve some goals over at least 90 days with our help and support, then you're invited to schedule a complimentary coaching call with one of my coaches. You can do that by clicking the link in the show description or going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com www.james.com/schedule. Now, Project 90 is for over 30s only, and it's really for people who are ready to get long-term power over alcohol. You don't have to quit forever, but you will have to quit for at least 90 days with our support. Just a reminder, 95% of my content is free and plastered all over the internet. If you just Google James Swanwick and the word alcohol, you'll find that. For those of you who want additional support, if you want coaching, fun, accountability, if you realize that you can't do this on your own or you just plain don't want to, then I invite you to schedule that call and we can talk about if Project 90 is for you. If you would like to take some of my supplements, swanvitality.com is the website. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. I have a liver support product called Loving Liver, which I designed and specially formulated to help remove toxins from your liver after years of alcohol consumption. Again, there's a link in the show description. We've also got a green powder there, which turns into a green juice filled with amazing ingredients to support you and give you energy throughout the day. And there's also a magnesium product, which I take every night to help me prepare for sleep and to sleep through the night. So there's a few options there. Lastly, if this episode or the show in general has helped you or supported you in any way, I would so appreciate it if you would write a review. It really does help the show climb the rankings and expose the show to people who don't yet know about us. So if this show has benefited you in any way and you feel compelled to pay it forward, just writing a short little review, hopefully a nice one, will be so appreciated and I will thank you immensely. Lastly, if you'd like to talk to me about anything at all, feel free to send me an email at james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com. I do read and respond to every email. And you can also follow me on Instagram at James Swanwick. Send me a message there. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Catch you on the next one.